What would you do if a little girl, no older than 10, walked up to a broken-down luxury car on the side of the road and offered help, and the man behind the wheel was a millionaire? But here's the twist. When he looked closer, he noticed a ring on her tiny finger, a ring that would change everything he thought he knew about life. Stay with me, because this story will move your heart in ways you never expected. And before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Stories, because stories like this deserve to be shared with the world. The night was calm, the sun had just dipped beyond the horizon, and the highway carried only a few cars rushing home when Ethan Cross, a self-made millionaire with a heart that had hardened over years of betrayal and loneliness, found himself stranded with a dead Mustang on the side of a dusty road. He had always prided himself on being in control, his businesses, his money, his life. But that night, with the hood of his prized car open and smoke hissing from the engine, he realized that money could not buy him the simplest of helps. He kicked the gravel beneath his feet, muttering under his breath, when he heard soft footsteps approaching. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but then, from the shadows, appeared a small figure. A little black girl, no older than 10, her curly hair tied up with a red ribbon, her dress faded from wear but her smile glowing with warmth. She stood there with confidence far beyond her years, clutching a tiny backpack that seemed much too heavy for her fragile shoulders, and said in a voice both innocent and sure, "Mister, looks like your car needs a little help." Ethan chuckled bitterly, waving a dismissive hand. "Sweetheart, this isn't the kind of thing little girls fix. Don't you have somewhere safer to be?" But she didn't move. She walked closer, peering into the engine with the curiosity of someone who had seen broken things before and learned how to mend them. "My daddy used to fix cars before he went away," she whispered, her voice trailing with the weight of a memory. Ethan felt something stir in his chest, but he brushed it off, watching as this little stranger set her backpack down, pulled out an old wrench, and began poking gently around the car as if she were born to do it. He couldn't explain why he let her, why a millionaire stood silently by while a child offered her hands to help. But something about her determination disarmed him. And then it happened. As she lifted her tiny hand to wipe sweat from her forehead, the dim light caught a small silver ring on her finger. Ethan's eyes locked on it, his heart skipping. It wasn't just any ring. It was a man's wedding band, far too big for her small hands, but she wore it proudly, as though it was her most treasured possession. "Where did you get that ring?" he asked, his voice suddenly tight. She paused, her wide eyes glistening, and after a moment of silence, she said softly, "It was my daddy's. I wear it so I don't forget him." Ethan felt the air leave his chest. The girl's innocence, her strength, her determination to help a stranger even when she had so little herself. It was like a mirror reflecting everything he had lost in his own life. He had money, cars, houses. Yet here stood a child whose world was stripped bare, and still she carried herself with grace, holding on to a piece of love in the form of a simple ring. That night, by the side of a broken road, Ethan realized he wasn't just looking at a little girl, he was looking at a lesson wrapped in skin and hope. A reminder that kindness doesn't come from wealth, but from the heart. And if you're still listening right now, let me remind you once again. Stories like this one are why you should like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Because you never know when the smallest act of kindness will change a life forever. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the silver ring glinting on the little girl's finger. And in that small circle of metal he saw not just her pain but his own reflection. A mirror to the loneliness he had buried beneath layers of success and wealth. And though the Mustang's engine still hissed with heat, his heart felt even louder, thundering with questions he didn't know how to ask. He wanted to know where her father was, why she was wandering alone with a backpack at night, and most of all, why she carried herself with a quiet strength that seemed too heavy for her tiny frame. But the girl simply bent back down, fiddling with the car as though her world wasn't falling apart, and after a long silence, she whispered, "My daddy gave me this ring before he left, and he told me no matter what happens, I should never let go of it, because love is stronger than loss." Ethan's throat tightened as memories of his own failed marriage flashed before him. The day his wife had walked out, taking with her the promise of a family he had longed for, leaving him with only boardrooms and contracts to fill the void, and now here was this child, trying to keep her father's love alive with nothing but a ring and a memory. And he couldn't help but kneel beside her, not caring that his designer suit brushed against the dusty gravel. and asked softly, "Where is your mother?" Her eyes flickered with something between fear and sadness before she said, "She works late, sometimes too late, so I wait for her at the diner down the road, but tonight I wanted to walk home alone, and then I saw your car, mister, and I thought maybe if I helped you, maybe someone up there might send someone to help my mommy too." Her words cut deep, deeper than any business deal or betrayal had ever hurt him, and Ethan felt his chest burn with a mixture of guilt and awe at the bravery hidden in her fragile body. And before he could speak again, the Mustang roared back to life under her tiny hands. Sputtering then steadying as if it too wanted to honor her resilience, he stared in disbelief, laughing through the tears stinging his eyes, realizing this wasn't just coincidence. It was a message. A reminder that hope can come from the smallest, most unexpected places. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a crisp $100 bill, offering it to her in gratitude. But the girl shook her head firmly, pushing his hand away, saying, "I don't want money, mister, I just wanted to help." And in that moment, Ethan's world shifted. Because he realized he had everything money could buy but nothing that truly mattered. And standing there on that dark road, he silently vowed that this girl's story would not end in shadows. She had given him hope, and in return, he would find a way to give her light. And if this story is touching your heart too, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Because together we can keep sharing these powerful reminders that kindness changes lives.